Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Russell Wilson posts 8-word message after Steelers beat Commanders. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now 3-0 with Russell Wilson under center, but Week 10 meant a little bit more. For the first time since Wilson has taken over at quarterback, Pittsburgh defeated a team with a winning record, and a 7-win team at that. After the 28-27 victory over the Washington Commanders, Wilson shared a message for followers on Instagram. BY Faith. Great team win. God is good, the Steelers QB wrote. The post also included a reel of Wilson and the Steelers, from the pre-game rally cry to the game-winning plays on both the offensive and the defensive side. The song, Ambition, by Whale, plays in the background along with parts of Wilson's speech. Embrace the moment. Embrace the moment, Wilson tells teammates at the start of the video. Continuing, one play at a time, locked in, doing this together. It's time to work. It's time to work. Let's go, win on 3. 1, 2, 3, win. Later, at the end of the reel, Wilson says, "It's built over daily obsession with excellence, by faith." Wilson recorded his lowest passer rating of the season on November 10, but he had his best start in terms of total QBR, which is intended to isolate each NFL quarterback's contribution to his team's fortunes as accurately as possible with the data available. QBR grades on a scale of 0-100, and Wilson earned a 72.7 against the Commanders. As for why the passer rating was lower, the Steelers' quarterback's 50% completion percentage and his first interception of the year likely had a lot to do with that. Having said that, Wilson's QBR illustrates a more impactful performance from the veteran signal caller. Wilson finished with 195 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 3 important rushing yards. He also took 3 sacks and was responsible for the aforementioned turnover. For reference, Wilson earned a total QBR of 63.7 during his debut versus the New York Jets, and despite a 114.9 passer rating, a season-low 40.9 QBR against the New York Giants. More important than all these stats is another, however, wins. For the time being, Wilson is undefeated in a Steelers uniform. The Steelers community rallied around Wilson in the comment section of his Instagram post. And they said he was washed up. Not at all, it's the team you are surrounded by. One of the top comments read. Another Steelers supporter said, "Tuned out the haters and tuned into the game." Followed by a third, who replied, "Never give up on Russ. Bro, that last TD to Mike Williams is hella underrated," a fourth fan stated. The pass when falling back and just lobbed in the perfect spot. "We see you, Russ, keep it up." Finally, one particularly amped-up follower predicted, "This ain't nothing. Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. My QB been the man. Y'all just now got the eyes to see it. That's fine, we welcome all, friend or foe. Russ don't stay down. Let me be humble like my QB, lol. Who want that work next?" There were countless other commenters cheering Wilson on as he continues to turn back the clock and make big throws. The Steelers' next matchup will be a crucial one at home against the 7-3 division rival Baltimore Ravens. Whoever wins stands alone atop the AFC North. Being more aggressive paying off for Steelers. On the surface, the call was risky, but only to those who haven't been paying attention to how the Pittsburgh Steelers go about their business these days. Backed up in the first quarter against Washington on Sunday and getting ready to punt, All-Pro Miles Killebrew, serving as the upback, saw one of the Commanders' gunners creep down the line of scrimmage to help out on a potential block, leaving teammate James Pierre all by himself on the outside. So Killebrew, the captain of perhaps the best special teams unit in the NFL, did what longtime coordinator Danny Smith has empowered him to do. He gambled, taking the snap and flipping a pass to an open Pierre down the left sideline. Pierre, perhaps showing why he's a cornerback and not a wide receiver by trade, dropped it, giving the Commanders pristine field position that they quickly turned into a touchdown. Ultimately, it didn't matter. Not after the Steelers erased a 10-point second-half deficit to edge Washington 28-27 and improved to 7-2 following a game that in many ways symbolized the shift in the tectonic plates that long have governed arguably the NFL's most stable franchise. Zoom out and Killebrews' decision simply falls in line with the accelerated sense of urgency that has permeated every level of the organization over the last 10 months. Consider this: the winning touchdown was thrown by a quarterback, Russell Wilson, who wasn't on the roster in February and not in the lineup until October. It was caught by a wide receiver, Mike Williams, who began last week as a member of the New York Jets. Pittsburgh spent the first 2 seasons of the post-Ben Roethlisberger era trying to do things the way it has always done them, methodically and pragmatically. Only Kenny Pickett didn't pan out. The offense continued to sputter under Matt Canada, and the NFL's most expensive defense made enough plays to keep the Steelers competitive, but not enough to close the gap between Pittsburgh and the powers that be in the AFC. That chasm suddenly looks far more navigable than it did a month ago, when Mike Tomlin thanked Justin Fields for his solid if not always spectacular play during a 4-2 start and handed the offense over to Wilson. Fields had done everything Tomlin and offensive coordinator Arthur Smith asked of him. He took care of the ball. He used his legs to make plays. He did what he could to not lose games. Dan Quinn turning heads with details of Commanders' response after Steelers' loss. The Washington Commanders' hype train has slowed ever briefly after a 28-27 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers at Northwest Stadium. It was yet another learning opportunity for Dan Quinn's team after having a 10-point second-half lead, which they couldn't hold on to. Of course, there will be moments like this throughout the season, but the locker room needs to learn from the mistakes made against Pittsburgh. Quinn reviewed the game and was happy with how his team performed overall, but he is now itching to see what kind of response he will get against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night. I was really pumped to see what was transpiring at the end of the second quarter going into the third quarter and to feel that momentum shift, Quinn said. So this was a hard loss, no doubt about it, and the response is what was so important. What I saw on the field towards the end, in the locker room of guys talking to one another, they were mad, and that's what I honestly wanted. To see these missed opportunities to say, how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? The Commanders scored 27 points on a defense that gave up an average of just under 15 points per game. With the momentum shift, Quinn tasks about being touchdowns scored either side of halftime to open a 10-point lead. The defense also forced 2 takeaways, making it 7 straight games Washington has forced a turnover. Perhaps what makes the loss sting is that Jaden Daniels and the offense were driving late in the fourth quarter to take the lead and were at midfield before turning the ball over on downs. That left the Steelers with a chance to milk the clock, but Washington got Pittsburgh to fourth down, but a neutral zone infraction from Jajon Newton made a fresh set of downs for the Steelers and ended the game. So the loss will sting, and it was a sucker punch to the Commanders, but now all eyes, including Quinn's, are on how this team responds to its latest bit of adversity. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Dan Quinn? Leave your opinion in the comments.